Howdy folks, Amazing Atheist here. I know I'm supposed to be answering your questions, but I actually have a few questions of my own first. First of all, does anyone know what the fuck is wrong with me? My head hurts, like right back here, you see? Like right where my fingers are, right there, at the base of my skull. It's like, it feels like swollen, and it like hurts when I do this. Well, it's not hurting when I do that right now, but it hurts when I move it certain, oh, there we go, there it hurts right there. And if I do it, no, it's not hurting. But I mean, it's like weird, and it just like hurts randomly, and it's like been that way for like 2 days now. So someone go check WebMD and make sure I'm not dying of something, please. Second of all, is anyone familiar with like this Japanese story where like there's like this little fox, and you know, he's like a little baby fox, and his mother like throws him in this like the field or some shit because she's being chased by hunters and she doesn't want them to kill her baby, and she ends up getting killed. But then the little fox thinks he got like abandoned and starts stealing food from this like farm and shit, and you know, a bunch of more shit, tragic shit happens. Does anyone know what that fucking story's called? I'm looking for that. Okay, so getting into the questions. First of all, someone added a question afterwards because they're a friend of mine. I'll go ahead and add their question in. They asked if I would marry them, and the answer is of course yes. I will marry anyone who asks. It's just what I do. I'm a married type of guy. I'll like take you places and buy you expensive shit. I'll be the greatest husband ever, alright? So don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all set up, baby. If you could go on a 2 or 3 week free vacation holiday to anywhere, where would it be? Japan, baby, because I want sushi from the source. I heard American sushi is steamed before it's served to us, and that's bullshit. I don't want no steamed ass sushi. That's not even sushi. Fuck you. I want real sushi. Fucking take the fish out of the water. In fact, just give it to me alive, and I'll fucking cut the sushi off myself, because that is ideal. Just stuff it with some rice first. That's all I ask. If you had control over America's drug policies, or anything you would change, yeah, I'd get rid of it. It's useless. It puts, you know, because of America's war on drugs, we have a larger prison population than any other nation on the planet. Land of the free, my ass. You know, we have a full percentage of our population in prison, and when you consider the people that are on parole and stuff like that, it rises up to like 3%. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that big of the percentage of the population are criminals. You know, it's absurd to think that, you know, I mean, if you pass laws against everything, then there's going to be more criminals. I mean, you know, you start criminalizing everything that you don't like, eventually you're going to wind up with a nation of criminals who don't have any respect for the law because the law doesn't make any fucking sense. And we're already moving in that direction. It's foolish, and it needs to be reversed because it's causing us nothing but grief. What do you think about the Book of Revelations in the Bible? I consider myself a strong atheist, but some of the prophecies of the Book of Revelations are one of the only things that make me doubt myself sometimes. It has stuff about things put in, not on, people's hands or foreheads that they will be unable to buy or sell without. RFID chips. If it's some really strange coincidence or something. Well, the thing about the Book of Revelations, and it's also something that can be applied to Nostradamus, and strangely enough, can be applied to most fucking supposed prophets and prophecies. They're always super fucking vague. You notice that the more specific a prophecy is, the less likely it is to happen. I mean, remember that the Book of Revelations also says that Nero Caesar is going to come back and take over Rome again. I mean, this book is full of fallacies. There's tons of stuff wrong with it, but people focus on the things that are kind of true. And usually it's stuff like, you know, they say, oh, when he talks about the seven-headed dragon that has 13 wings and 35 penises, what it really means is George Bush. You know, I mean, you know, you throw enough vague, you know, overly symbolic things into people's heads and say, ooh, you know, look for a similarity between that and what's happening. And, you know, everyone's going to find, oh, okay, well, this represents this and this represents this. I mean, you can do it with anything. Like, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna do an experiment right here to show you what I mean. Here's a prophecy, okay? When the three-headed tiger enters the land of Nod, the Queen of Darkness will lower her scepter upon the heads of the infidels. Okay? Now I want you all to memorize that prophecy, and the first person who can come up with something within the last 10 years that they could apply that prophecy to, I'll fucking give you a pat on the back. But I suspect that plenty of people will find something that they can apply that to and make it sound feasible. Just put your interpretations of it right in the comments section. What do you think of the quality of public education in the USA? Well, here's the problem with public education in the US. When we start, I mean, it's basically repetition. That's what we do in the American school system, and standardized testing, There's not much emphasis placed upon creativity, problem solving in the abstract. These are the things that, if we want to be part of the new global economy, and get these kids jobs in important industries, in technology and, stuff of that nature, then they're going to have to know how to do more than just process information and spit it back out at you. That's not a recipe for success. Also, the concept of a well-rounded education sounds very good, but it's quite outmoded as a concept. You don't need to teach kids calculus or trigonometry when they show no mathematical inclination. It's pointless to sit there and try to do that shit with them. When all they're probably ever going to need in their lives is addition, subtraction, maybe a little multiplication and division. And that's about all most people really use in their lives. If they show a great proficiency in math, then that's a whole other story. By all means, go all out educating them in math, and we need more customized curriculums for kids. And the solution isn't just to throw more money at it. We need to actually revise the way the education system works in this country, make it more oriented towards careers, and make it more tailored towards specific students. But we're too lazy to do that. We like our one-size-fits-all approach, and it fails consistently. We see that just looking at the American public. We're a bunch of dumbasses. It's true. I'm sorry. It's not because we're stupid. It's because we're poorly educated. What is the closest you've come to death or injuring yourself? I've had... One time there was this guy that took his corner too fast, and he nearly swerved into me. That was about the closest I ever came to death. As for injuring myself, the worst injury I've ever incurred, I think, was when I broke my collarbone when I was like 10 or 11 or some shit. Might have been younger even. When you went to high school, what was it like for you? And I'm not just asking generally how school was like, but more like what happened there. How many fights did you get into? Were you in a band or whatever? I'm not in a band because I can't play any fucking instruments. I probably got into a fight or two. I used to sell porno magazines out of my locker because I could usually get away with buying them because I was taller than most. And if I went to like the little Asian gas station, they'd sell me Playboy and Hustler and shit. And a lot of kids still didn't have the internet in those days. Or had really low speed internet, or had, parental locks and so on and so forth. And I would just take those magazines and I'd sell them. I'd buy them for like $5 and sell them for like 20. And I'd make a nice little profit. And with that profit, I could pay for like comic books and stuff. And that was cool. And a lot of times people would try to return them afterwards. I'm like, I ain't buying your used porno back from you. A lot of times though, I did. If I could get them to just take $5 back for it, then I would just, of course, take it and then sell it again. So that was a neat little business venture I had at the time. I picked on this girl once because she was a bitch, or I liked her. I don't remember, probably both. And her brother actually came pretty close to kicking my ass, and he was like pretty big. I mean, he was not quite my size, but he was muscular, and I was flabby as shit. And so, yeah, it didn't. The equation, the mathematics just weren't there on for my favor. Physics were against me. Strange question to an atheist, I guess, but do you know any Bible verses or like any? I don't know any by heart, but I do like a lot of the book of Ecclesiastes. I think Solomon was pretty cool, generally. So yeah, fuck yeah, Solomon rocks, whatever. Why is Jesus Freak a complete cunt? You mean like, why do I think he's a cunt, or what makes him a cunt in general? I don't know. It's a pretty broad question. I don't really know him on any sort of personal level, so I can't really attest to why he behaves in the fashion that he does. I would suspect that I don't know. I think it's because he likes to control other people's lives, and I think he sees religion as a means to do that. He wants to enforce his morality, and he just says, okay, well, it's not me saying it, it's God. So then he can enforce whatever kind of crazy whim enters his head and say, ooh, well, that's immoral and that's immoral, but this is okay and this is okay. And, that's what he does. That's what Jesus Freak does. There's nothing wrong with having personal opinions on a matter, but it's another thing entirely to try to force them onto someone else. It's not to say you can't try to make people change, because that's of course what I'm doing. That's of course what anyone who's out there spreading any sort of information or opinion is doing. But with Jesus Freak, he often talks about wanting to legislate stuff, or trying to steer the country in a different direction, presumably by changing its laws. And that's not an approach that I agree with, and I think that that's what truly makes him an evil person. Thank you.